year, new beginnings. I'd like to have Kayla, if you would, introduce. Thanks. Enjoy.
Thank you. So I'll start by asking a question. I'm good. And you don't have to raise your hand, but maybe you'll just make a mental note. I think all of us at one point or another have kind of wondered, is it time to make a career change? Should I start looking at outside positions? What about positions that are available within my company? I've been thinking about entrepreneurship. So we've put together this wonderful panel of ladies who have kind of run the gamut of entrepreneurship and making changes from corporate careers. So I will get started with asking Jennifer to kick off with just introducing yourself and kind of tell us one transition that you've made in your career so far.
Hello, ladies. My name is Jennifer Kitt. I am the founder and host of the Today's Black Woman radio show. One transition that I made was when I was 27 years old, walking to the newsroom and was doing morning drive anchoring in Chicago, and I quit in my mind. I don't know how many times you've quit, but I was done. But I was for real done this time. And so that sent me into a summer of what I call introspective chaos. Out of that came and was born my nationally syndicated radio show. There have been plenty of transitions after that, but that was probably the first one and the most significant for me. Great to be here.
Sheila.
Hello, ladies. Sheila Carmichael with Transitions D2D. The D2D stands for Discernment to Decision. And the transition I'd like to share with you has been just leaving corporate, finally, because there have been tons of transitions within corporate, as you well know, and in life, but making that leap of faith and saying, why don't I just do what I really love and enjoy doing? And that was executive coaching and leadership development. The wonderful thing about that is when you get focused and you get to transition into other things. So I'm back in corporate, but I'm doing again what I love, and that's helping others live up to their fullest potential.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, ladies. I am Andrea Walker, and I am the product manager with PharmaPoint. And in terms of transitions, I've had many throughout my career. I have started out in broadcast journalism, I have moved to marketing, and now here I am in product and technology. And the biggest thing throughout my career is just taking risks. I've done things that most people said I couldn't do, or that I was not able to do. So I pretty much defied the odds over the years. And so just biggest thing has just been not being scared, not taking no for an answer, and just being a badass at whatever I do.
Hello. Hi, my name is Sugra Nakvi, and I am the managing director over at Stellar Consulting. My story of transition would be that I used to be a business owner and went to work for somebody and realized that I really did not want to follow the rules and did not want to be boxed in to do it a certain way and needed the freedom to do it my own way, and then ended up joining to start my own company where I would call the shots and I would be in control of my destiny. So I've always been in some sort of sales, but it has transitioned from either owning a business to working for somebody else and then going back to working for myself.
Thank you. So Jennifer, we'll start with you again. Tell us, what kind of determining factors did you think through when you were, when you say you quit in your mind?
I have a 3P approach. First, personal inventory. I discovered that particular summer that I didn't hate being a broadcaster, I hated what I was saying. So I had to really think through what skill sets I had as a broadcaster that I could still market and make money from. So personal inventory was my first P. Then for me, it really centered around passion. I once again enjoy immensely communication and talking with people, right? So that wasn't something I was willing to negotiate on or give up that particular summer. But with my personal inventory and then discovering that passion point, it led me to the third P, which really was the impetus to start today's Black Woman Radio, and that was purpose. I recognized that the radio station had a very unique opportunity in talking primarily to a female audience. I happened to be today's Black woman. That made sense to me. I enjoyed very much talking and empowering women. So all of that really kind of came together as I looked at personal inventory, as I really thought through what my passion points were, and as I discovered and went and walked into what now has become my purpose of empowering women.
Thank you. Sheila?
I'll piggyback on that because it's exactly the things that I've done, whether transitioning in a corporate environment, transitioning from to another organization, transitioning out, transitioning to, all these different transitions that are happening in your life. To add to that, I would say knowing who you are. That was the key thing through my corporate journey that kept me progressing in my career, is not only aligning with what their vision was, but having my own vision. And also understanding, what did I bring to the table? What was I good at? And not so much focusing on the things that I couldn't do. And that's what I usually use as well with my coaching, is to help people with understanding that. So when I did that with so many people over 25 years in human resources, I said, wow, Sheila, it's time for you to start doing this for yourself. What is it that you're good at? What is that passion? What are your strengths? And the key thing that really helped me with that is where I was at that time. Because for each transition, I took that as an opportunity, as a learning ground. This is preparing me for the next something that I may not even know. So take advantage of that and ask myself, what is this asking of me to prepare me for my tomorrow's success? So I would say key thing is just knowing who you are, what are your strengths, where you're at, not just skill sets and traits and competencies that corporate kind of drills into you and the HR person goes over and over, right? But also, what are your values? What's important for you right now? And if you can put yourself into a future state and consider, is this going to support what I'm trying to go after in the future? Because if it's not, those no's come really, really easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say also, too, being curious. One of the things in my career, so starting on broadcast journalism, I was 19 when I got into the business. I started out in this production type of role. And I just took it upon myself to find somebody as a news producer and say, hey, teach me what you know. So I moved up in my career. I was in broadcast journalism as a news producer for a few years, and then I transitioned to digital production. And that was around 2009, and the industry was changing. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to be there. So I started looking outside and looking at PR type of roles, marketing, but guess what? What happened in 2008, 2009? Recession. And I just could not get a job for the life of me. And I just said, screw it. And I just started freelancing and started taking on clients and doing media relations, doing PR, and that kind of led me to starting my own business. And at the time, social media marketing was rolling around, and because of my digital production background, I knew something about it. Well, because I sort of knew more than most people at the time, I sort of started building my business around that and realized I was onto something that was a niche that nobody else at the time could do. So I ended up starting a business at the age of 23, and I did not have a background in entrepreneurship. I did not know anybody, nor my family was an entrepreneur. I didn't know how to sell. So everything I did, I learned by doing. And so I ran that company for over 7 years. It was acquired, and since then I have just had a thirst for knowledge and continuing to want to grow myself as an individual and also align myself with something I believe in, which technology happens to be a passion of mine, and that's just something I stumbled onto, and I just feel very blessed and lucky to be where I am now. And it's just kind of part of my journey. I don't know where I'll be 5 to 10 years from now, but I think going back to what I said earlier, it's just staying curious and not being afraid to keep on learning, keep on growing.
I'm going to segue off of what just Andrea said. I think being true to yourself. you know what you're good at and you know what you're going to be amazing at. Always make a list of things that you're doing good, because you'll know 10 million things people say that you're not good at. But when you sit down and take an inventory of all of the things, all of the successes that you've had over the years, and you've got the community and your peers that have said, hey, you've done awesome at this, that is what you need to look at, because those are your plus selling points. Once you make that list, you visualize it and you see, okay, you know what, I might not be succeeding and maybe I'm not happy where I am, but if I look at that, I can get sort of like a roadmap of where I need to be at. And never be scared to ask for help. I think having mentors and having a community around you to be your soundboard and to say, hey, yes, you can do it. Surrounding yourself with positive people will always guide you to your true calling. Being in sales all my life, I was doing my own thing and got out of it, sold, I had GNC franchises and got into technology. I didn't know if I could do it. I had never, done staffing, but I had a really good mentor that was like, yes, you can do it, and gave me the opportunity and was able to help me get out of my box. So I think surrounding yourself with positive people will always show you the path to where you need to be at.
Thank you. So earlier we were sitting and talking about teachable moments that Andrea kind of brought up. Jennifer, what's one kind of just moment that was kind of like an aha moment and that you could kind of pass along in your career to someone else?
Well, I think it probably had to do with when my daughter and I rebranded and co-founded what we're now running as our Women's Empowerment Organization. My daughter, after graduating from Georgia Tech, realized that she just did not have what it took to be the corporate person. And she came to me because for 34 years I have been empowering women. And she came to me 5 or 6 years ago and she says, I want to do what you do. And that really made me have to sit and think, well, what do I do? What do I do? And it's one of those kinds of aha moments, because now she's coming into committing her life to something that I've just taken for granted. So for me, it was a lot of relearning what it is that I do and how I do what I do, so that we can begin to create this new environment for strong girls, for Books and Bosses, college women, for the Power Her experience and other women. It really was an aha, because I was like, wow, now I'm not only responsible for the next generation of women, but it starts with my daughter. So that was a huge thing for me, taking a 34-year of what I've been doing and actually putting it down on paper and actually teaching it to not only her, but others. Huge for me, game changer.
Awesome. Sheila?
It's so funny that you said that. The first time I thought about going into business on my own, I was transitioning from Aramark, and I had no idea what was going on. And I had my parents, I moved down, and I'd set them up on this house and everything. We were all excited, and I said, I'm not quite sure where we're going, but we may be eating beans and franks for a little bit until I get things going. And so it was that same exact thing. I took a whiteboard, and I said, Sheila, you've been doing this with directors and VPs for years, facilitating their strategy, helping them to understand their talent, all these different things. So I ran out to Office Depot, got this really big whiteboard, and I started writing out my strategy, my vision and what that meant, and kept reiterating it over and over and over again, and my mission and my values and all these different things and what were my goals. My dad at the time, when he was living, he looked around the corner, he was like, okay. I said, Dad, don't worry about it. I got it. But it was that aha moment to trust your training. Yeah. One of the wonderful things about corporate that I love, I'm kind of the weird person that does love corporate, is that they give you resources. I didn't realize the resources I had from a marketing department I can tap into, a communications department I could tap into, and now I was by myself. And I said, you know what? Trust your training. Find those resources, map that out just like you used to do with others in corporate, and use your training for yourself. That's good.
Yeah. I think also trust your gut too. I think that's something that's really, as women, we have a pretty strong, inner instinct of when we know things are right and when things are not so right. In my experience, I found that some of the biggest lessons I've learned was by not trusting my gut, whether it was with a business transaction, whether it was pursuing an opportunity, whether it was working with people, or if you're in an environment you just don't kind of get the sense of, I don't know about this. Something just doesn't seem right about it. But I'm working hard, I'm doing all the right things, but something just seems off. I think that's one of the biggest things is don't be afraid to trust your gut and know when things just don't seem like they should be. And I think another thing too is not, we treat, failure like it's a bad word. I think, like if a job doesn't work out, or if a business doesn't work out, or things just don't go according to plan, that's just part of life. I think it's like in those moments they say you're at your strongest when you're in a position where you are up against obstacles. Like that shows your true character. And so I think we don't need to look at failure as the bad F word. I think we need to look at it as being fierce, in my opinion, because if you didn't put yourself out there to begin with and you didn't try something, then you're doing something that most people wouldn't have the guts to do. And that's something we need to applaud ourselves for that.
I'm totally with you on that. I don't know how we're kind of on the same page.
It's life.
I know, right? It looks like we've been through a lot of same stuff. I would say don't take no for an answer. That has been a huge one for me. When somebody comes and tells me you cannot do that, I think that is my motivator of proving them wrong that yes, I can do that. When we started this business about 3.5 years ago, there was 20 people standing on the side saying, no, you cannot do this, you're gonna fail, it's a competitive market, what is your niche, you're not gonna stand out, you're gonna get, trampled on. 3.5 years later, winning nationals in Austin, in front of about 30,000 people, I just proved to everybody else that yes, all of those guys said that no, you cannot do it, that yes, I can do it. And even if you fall, like you were saying, that if there is failure, that is not a failure, that's part of the learning experience. Because when you come out of that, you're like, okay, you know what? This is how I'm not gonna do that. So I think not taking a no is a huge teachable moment.
Awesome. So my next question is, a lot of us kind of wonder, what's the first step? What is the leap of faith that you need to take? Is it certifications? Is it going back to school? Is it reaching out to your network? What is that next thing that you need to do to reach out and get started? And we'll switch it up, and so we'll start with you and work our way back.
I think for you to take that leap of faith, you need to think within yourself and see what you feel is your strongest trait. And I think follow your gut would be write it down on a piece of paper and then go online and search it up. What are, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, it's such a huge wealth of information where you can see what other people are doing, what other certifications they've had. You can go to a local technical school and get that and still be able to have that edge experience. So I think just looking into those resources will be able to give you a wealth of information of where you need to go based off of what industry you're in.
Yeah. Love or hate him, Tony Robbins actually had a really cool concept about how to take action on an idea. And I actually have used this time and time again over the years. And it's the idea of do 3 things every day. Like if you have a business idea, if you have something you want to do with your life, do 3 actionable things every day. And you do that over the course of a few months or a year, and then all of a sudden you start taking action on these things. So if you're looking to get another job, well, you can be talking about it, but if unless you're actively out there looking and talking and networking, nothing's going to happen. So taking action is the biggest thing. One of the other things I would say is that, going back to what you said about research, like do your research, talk to folks, go online. I think another thing too is don't be afraid. So when I decided I wanted to transition into more kind of product management, because I realized I really liked building things. I kind of have come to this idea of over the years of everything I've done, I really like the act of creating. I'm a creator. I'm a horrible DIY project person. I mean, I can't knit for the life of me. I can't paint. I can't do all that. But I like building technology products. So when I decided I kind of wanted to pursue this other avenue, I really didn't go out and get a lot of certifications. I just sort of started talking to people. And I realized my soft skills was just more as important as the hard skills. So when I went on interviews, they actually really liked the fact I had this very diverse background because I was coming from a different perspective. I was bringing something different to the table. So that's something soft skills, don't overlook that. That's something nowadays I've heard time and time again that people really, really value, is how you communicate and, how you work with others, how you're a team player, how you sort of project manage, bring things together. So, that's something to think about too if you're looking to transition to another role. You may say to yourself, I may not have the hard skills, but don't overlook your soft skills that can be transferable.
A quick thing on what Andrea said. I think asking for help as well. Like if you know people around, on LinkedIn or just within your network, ask them for help and say, hey, you know what? Can you look at my resume? Can you guide me on where I need to be at? I think we are fearful of not asking, thinking we're going to get turned down, but I think you'll be surprised to see there's so many people and resources there that they can guide you and say, hey, you know what? I know somebody that I spoke to 3 days ago and they were looking for something that you offer. Let me connect the two of you together. And what's the worst? I can't help you. You've got one less person that you can cross off the box and ask somebody else.
Yeah, when it comes to coaching and leadership development, there's a lot of people who come after you wanting to sell you their program. They want to sell you their certification. They want to sell you this and sell you that. There's a lot of noise. So I would say the first thing to do is to silence some of that noise. Mm-hmm. I got caught up in some of that noise thinking I needed additional certifications. You're out there on your own. These folks have this, they have that. You go, wait a minute, Sheila. Again, trust your training. Everything that you've done up to this point most likely has positioned you for what you're feeling inside. And so when you see that and you know that and you take inventory and silence some of that noise and take a moment and trust your training and say, you know what can I do? What's already there? And to your point, do you have to know everything? No. When I was in corporate America, I had people I could go to who were the marketing experts, so find them in your village. You had the people who were the communications specialists, find them in your village. I'm not an accounting guru, find them in your village. So trust what you have and then take that inventory and say, well, do I need this additional because it's going to give me that one ledge up or that extra differential? Chances are you may not need it. Now in technology, it's very possible. That's evolving all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm speaking to tech folks, that is very possible. But when you're looking at other aspects to support that, it may not need that additional certification. It may mean that you need to rebrand who you are to align better with what that market is asking you for with the service and products that you're offering.
I think the only thing that I could add is that the boss move that I move all the time, that I do all the time, take out your calendars right now. Take out your calendars right now. Boss moves, right? Is that what I said? A boss move. And you need to give yourself the deadline for the very next thing. What are you going to do the very next? Thank you very much for actually, let me see those fingers moving. The next move. These ladies have given you absolutely amazing information. So is the next move going to happen tomorrow at 5 o'clock? Is it going to happen Monday? Are you going to give yourself till March 1st? When are you going to do the very next thing that you know you need to do and continue to deadline yourself? My career, tonight, thank you, tonight, exactly. That's a boss move. When they told me that you can do your own show, you've got 1 minute. I built a career off of 60 seconds. They said it couldn't be done, but I gave myself the boss move of you will have a show that is complete by December 9th, 1991, and that's when Today's Black Woman was launched. If you're gonna be a boss, you're gonna have your calendar with the very next move tonight.
Can I add to that?
Schedule women in wireless.
Boss move. Boss move.
Here's
Boss
the
move.
fabulous thing about what she just said. I'm sorry, I got to jump in and add to it. Because many of you are already working in corporate, so the HR hat is coming on a little bit, and someone told you to write a SMART objective for your goals, right? And you remember what SMART stands for: specific, measurable, attainable. That R has 3 elements. Is it realistic? Is it relevant? And can it be something that I want to have some results around? And then the time bound. So if you're already doing that in an organization for others, why not make those smart boss moves and objectives and do it for yourself?
Now.
Awesome information. So, Sugra, you kind of touched on this earlier, but you said something about overcoming your fears of tapping into your network. How do you kind of do that? How do we build a community around ourselves that, you know, whenever we do need something, it doesn't feel like we're always asking for someone for something?
I think the most important thing to do is to not ask when you need something and build connections when you don't need anything. People will remember that. I have met so many people that will just run into me in different networking events or at the grocery store or when I'm dropping my kids, right? And we'll just say, hey, a high five, remember it's my son's birthday or it's my birthday. And that will stick in my head. So when there is an opportunity where they might be struggling or might need to transition out into a different career or need my help, they don't feel that weirdness that, you know what, I have really not touched base with her, now I have to ask her for a favor. So it's always good to touch base with people when you don't need anything. I think that's really important. And try to go out to as many networking events as well. I think the more you put yourself out there, even though you're completely secure with your position right now, that might change 3 months down the road. And those connections that you've made, you might be able to tap into them and they'll remember you. So I think just constantly being in touch when you don't need anything is a huge one.
Yeah, something else too is people love it. There's something about human nature when you reach out to somebody and say, hey, I want to pick your brain. I want to, because you're kind of calling somebody a subject matter expert. So I've never had anybody just turn me down when I reach out to them via LinkedIn or, through a connection, say, hey, I'd like to take you out for coffee. I'd like to pick your brain about what you do, or I'd like to talk shop. And that's just something that, if you're looking to make a career move into, and you want to, find somebody who's in that role, take them out for coffee or lunch and ask them all the things you want to know. Tell me the good, the bad, the ugly. And then that person becomes a connection that can potentially get you into the type of role that you want to be in. Just like what you said too, be a helper. That's something years back when I started my business, I really learned is, people don't forget it when you go out of your way to do something for them. So, while yes, you have your own needs, you have things that you're looking to do with your own career, by going out of your way and, whether it's, giving, you hear about a job and you refer somebody to that, or, you invite somebody to a networking event like this, people don't forget things like that. That's how you build a community, is by, not only, tapping into people's knowledge, but also helping people along the way. And that builds trust. And then at that point, people do want to help you and they want to help you succeed.
I would just echo that and say the things that you're doing and you're demonstrating in your behavior is really going to prove more than what you're saying. So if you're sincere, if you're humble, if you're transparent, then people will feel that and get that connection with you. And like you said, they want to naturally help you. They want to help you, whether it's a career transition somewhere else or support you in anything you're trying to do. But when you're approaching it in a way of, brother, can you spare a job? That may not get you what you're looking for. It's not sincere, it's not humble, and it's not transparent. It's a little too transparent and not on the positive side. So if you practice those things and stay true to yourself and be authentic to what you're going after, and make sure that you're humble about it. These are not my wheelhouse things. I have no idea about these things, but you do have that expertise. People immediately want to gravitate to you and start sharing everything they know.
I think the only thing I would add is I'm not trying to be trite or rude, but could you just smile? Could you just be friendly? The reason that I'm sitting here before you is because I met Stephanie at a TED Women luncheon. We just sat down next to each other Do you remember what we had? No, I don't remember what we ate at all. I smiled at her. She smiled at me. Oh, what do you do? Oh, what do you do? And the next thing I know, I don't know how she remembered me. I don't know why she remembered me. But I remembered her being, look at her face, she's smiling now. Can we just smile and be, I'm serious, and just be kind, be nice, because our networks will determine our net worth. Plain and simple. And it's not I didn't position myself with, I just smiled. I was just friendly. I meet people all the time. And when I meet them, I'll send back an email from your business card, hey, lovely meeting you. If we can do some things together later on, just let me know. People will remember your beautifully smiling faces.
So, coming off of building a community and a network, how big of a part has mentorship played in your careers as far as being mentored and being mentees, or being a mentor and a mentee?
All the time, right? My life is a teaching. I went there. We are a nonprofit organization, and we are trying to grow to that next level. So because I network all the time, friendly all the time, I got a meeting with the CEO of the nonprofit that I'm gunning for. That's where I want my nonprofit to be. I went into John's office on the X number floor in the middle of downtown Atlanta, and he ripped me a new one. Absolutely ripped me a new one. And I said to him, whoa, dude. He's like, well, if you want to do what I'm doing, if you want to be who I am, if you want to grow the way that I've grown my organization, this is what you're going to have to do. This is what you're going to have to do. This is what you're going to have to do. He ripped me a new one. And I left there, and my feelings and my ego, I nearly cussed that man out and punched him in the Don't know, my daddy don't talk to me that way. How you gonna come at me like that? However, what he was saying was absolutely true. I whined to my husband, I whined to my daughter, I whined to everybody else, but in the meantime, thought about what he was saying. And so I went, bought him an awesome gift, sent it to him, and said, I want you to put this on your desk so that you can remember that you ripped me a new one, bruh, but I'm coming after you because I'm going to be where you are. So, ego aside, right? Emotions aside, if you want to go, you need to find that person at that next level, and don't take no, and you need to let them rip you a new one. Go and sulk, but do exactly what they tell you to do so that you can be where they are.
Mentoring others and being a mentee has always been at a core for me. I mean, that's just something I naturally do. And I know that successful leaders don't get to where they get to without having those mentors. They also don't get there without being open to that feedback and receiving it, like she said, and ensuring that it may not be what you wanted to hear at that time, but it was definitely something you needed to hear. So I know along my way in my career journey, a VP of HR always said to me, I'm paying it forward. And the value that that has when you do pay it forward. Again, there's sincerity and humility that comes involved with that. If you're willing to receive, you need to be willing to give. Because that's the only way that you're going to build those proper relationships. And when you do receive, also keep your ears open. Is this the right thing that you should be receiving at the time you're receiving it? There have been managers who have ripped me a couple of new ones and they really shouldn't have. So I'll just put that out there, being transparent. And then there were some who should have, and I took those knocks. But those are the ones I needed to learn, because those are the ones who had sincere, earnest leadership behind them and wanted to see me grow, just as you saw there. So you really do need to take that moment and make sure, is this message that I'm hearing as the mentee the one that I should be listening to? Are my ears open in a way to allow me to hear this the right way? And if it's not, just put it aside. I would tell people all the time, when they give you feedback, you have choices with that. You can keep it exactly the way it is. You can modify it according to who you authentically are, or you can just store it back here for reference, and you can trash it. It's up to you to make that choice when you're receiving that feedback. if this is the appropriate feedback for you. And it's up to you to also make the choice to pay it forward to others because you didn't get where you got to by yourself.
Yeah. True. Yeah, and sometimes you got to take a step down so you can take a step up. And what I mean by that is that, sometimes you got to know what you don't know. And that means if you want to get to a certain level in your career, if you want to start a business, that means getting to a place where you get humble enough, you get your pride out of the way so you can learn what you need to learn in order to be better at what you do. And for me, when I started a business, the fundamental thing I look back on, and going back to what we talked about, Teachable Moments, was I was a prideful little 23-year-old that thought she knew everything. And I basically ate a lot of humble pie my first year in business, and I went to people that knew more than me and said, look, I'm not making money. What do I do here? I got to support myself here. I took a huge gamble. What do I do? That's something that it's hard as women because, it goes back to that thing that we don't want to be seen as failures. We want to look like we know our stuff, because we do know our stuff. And it can be hard. I still struggle with this every day when it comes to pride. But it goes back to the fact that, you gotta, to get where you want to go, you can't do it alone. You gotta ask for help. You gotta be willing to take a step back. You gotta be willing to do just a soul-searching assessment of where you are. What else do you need to learn? Where else can you grow? And not just talking about skills, but personal development type of stuff. What could you do to be a better leader? What can you do to be a better person in your industry? What can you do to be a better, thought leader? What could you just be doing as you go along in your journey to be just a better person? Because that's what life is all about. Life is about growing, and life is about evolving. We're not supposed to stay here. We're supposed to keep growing. Yep, for sure.
I'm going to echo off of everything all these ladies have said. I think while in the initial years of growing up, I didn't think I needed a mentor. I thought I knew everything, I got it, I figured it out, nobody can teach me anything, having a lot of humble pies.
Yep.
And I've realized that you need to, when I started this, I had a mentor that supported me. I think, Carissa, Jackie from Women in Technology. So she was the first person. My relationship with my mom is really not that strong, so I didn't have a whole lot of support coming from her every time I wanted to go venture out and do something different. And Jackie was the first person that I met up with, and she saw the potential of where I could be. So you need to surround yourself with people who can see where you are going to be, and sometimes you're like that little diamond in the rough that doesn't know your capabilities, and somebody who has more experience and is 20 years ahead of you can foresee things that you can't see. And that opened up my eyes on not only to accept being mentored, but then also give back to the community as well. Yeah. So I help out with Women in Technology with Georgia Gwinnett College, and I have about 20 girls that we meet on a weekly basis, and any kind of help they need, whether it is I don't get support from my house, I need to go into a technology career, I'm having issues, do I need to fix my goals, everything. And it gives me satisfaction to know that paying it forward, that I had somebody who held my hand and showed me the way, that I can now help these 20 girls to kind of take it to the next step. So I think it's super important to definitely be mentored by the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do want to open the floor up to questions. You guys have offered a lot of advice, and I want to make sure that our audience can leverage you guys. So anybody have any questions?
Let's open the floodgates.
So in my business, while I was learning about cash projections and learning about profit margins and things of that nature, I was in my 20s at the time, and in retirement, I was typical millennial. I was like, I'm never going to retire. I'm going to work till I'm just going to drop dead. Yeah, okay. But it really didn't hit. But, at that point, but then I got in my, it wasn't until I got a little bit older I said, okay, I need to smarten up here. First thing I did was I talked to a financial advisor, and I set up to where I essentially created my own 401k through types of different funds that I invested in over the years. I basically took a portion of, what I was paying myself in the business and then put it towards that. I also created a savings account that I also invested in. So, and then what I actually did was, the first year I started my business, I didn't pay myself. And then, actually it was a year and a half I did not pay myself. And that's the first thing I tell anybody that's a, would-be entrepreneur is figure out how to pay yourself.
Sustain yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
first and foremost. And even if you're taking out, $2,000, $1,000 a month, $2,000, whatever it is, make sure that you can cover yourself and your expenses first and foremost. In terms of healthcare, it's one of those things where right now it's kind of a, at the time, my spouse, I was able to use his insurance, which was great, but I know, not a lot of women are in that situation. There are options out there, some of them are not ideal, but I'm not going to say it's not.
I'll tell you, my first year, there was no health insurance. I was struggling. You had that nice little corporate severance letter. You got all that little package with it. Yeah, I'm a boomer, so I know what you're talking about. And then that all disappears. So you get real creative on how to be more smart about your health care. Yes, but there are, to your point, there are associations out there. So I was a little bit more fortunate that there wasn't children I needed to consider. I didn't have a spouse to help with that supplemental income. So all those different things come into play. I will tell you that you get real creative. You open your networks more open to folks who have probably gone before you on this entrepreneurial journey, and you learn how they're maneuvering it too. There are some associations and things that are out there to help you with finding creative, more or less expensive ways if you have prescriptions and things like that. And then as far as the 401, that's where I got real smart with what I had from corporate to say I need to start putting on my accountant hat and do things a little different, start preparing for that. So I would say it is scary. It is very scary. That year that I did not have health insurance, I did not do all the risk-taking things that I used to do when I could just flap down my, BS and Blue Cross Blue Shield card and say, okay, not a problem. You get real creative. When you got a little tickle in your throat, you don't have to run to the doctor immediately. You go to CVS and you start figuring out some things. I think the other thing that happens is that pharmacies and like CVS and Walgreens, they have recognized some of this. So I'm going to give them a little prop here. And they have set up things to help you with this. So if you go and you reach out and just be transparent. Here's my situation. What do you have? And even talk to other physicians and doctors. I'm not saying they're going to do things under the rug or anything like that, but they're going to help you. There are resources out there, but you have to say, you know what, it's okay. I'm in this situation, be transparent, be humble, and immediately you'll start seeing some things come your way. You're not the only one. I had a girlfriend who was working her business for years, and I called her up and I'm like, how in the world are you doing this and you have a daughter? And she's like, girl, let me tell you. And we had that cup of, glass of wine kind of conversation late night, and I'm taking notes trying to figure out what it is that I have to do. So yes, there are realities to it. I would say, one advice, don't jump. Understand before you do. That's why a lot of people, even I did it. I went part-time and found a job, a small little part-time gig, and said, you know what, if I can do lens crafters and sell some glasses and get some health care in the meantime while I'm building it up, you just get real creative.
Yeah. And another thing too, I want to add is, right now I'm in a setting where, I do have benefits and I have a 401k, but nothing's for certain. And even if you have a full-time job and you work with a company, you always need to be thinking, have that entrepreneurial mindset. There was when I went through my master's program, our professor said, you need to think of yourself as a company of one, meaning that you always need to be thinking about, stay ahead of the curve in terms of, even though you may have your benefits taken care of already and your health insurance taken care of, go ahead and start, stockpiling. Go ahead, start putting aside, funds that you can put aside for such health emergencies, for such instances where, all of a sudden, there could be a sudden layoff. Things happen. So that's the thing that kind of say even though you may be in a comfortable position right now, go ahead and start kind of, it's always good to prepare yourself to kind of have plan B and plan C in the back of your head, just in case.
And you can always, and I've been through that where I didn't have health insurance, so you just go to the doctor and you tell them you don't have it, and they will give you a cash option, which might be a lot lesser than what you would pay for your copay. And if you have a relationship, I found one through one of my friends, and so I was like, hey, you know what, I've just started this and I'm in like this transition phase and I don't know when I'll be able to afford healthcare. So she was able to plan something for me that if I needed to go in, get my prescription and everything else, and it was all cash. So it's just about being transparent.
And
Ask
that's
for
not
help.
just your doctor. I mean, it's your dentist did
exactly.
it for me. It's all the little ways
Yeah.
you were using those resources
They'll
before when you had the health insurance.
Yeah.
Just go back to them and have that
Put you on a payment
conversation.
plan.
Yes.
Exactly. And you say that, you know what, I'm going to need all of these things done over the period of 12 months. Can you put a payment plan and I'll pay you cash for it? That's always works out because they don't have to fight with the insurance companies anymore.
Yeah.
They're getting it straight out. And you know what? You sign a contract with them, say 24 months, 12 months, whatever. And you'll be amazed. So many dentists and doctors are willing to do that.
I don't really have much more to add. Yeah.
Second mortgage. Had to refi the house.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, and you're hoping that you will be successful. Maybe ask your parents. I mean, who else is going to support your dreams better than your parents? I mean, so I think those two were a big one for us.
I think really thinking about your money, right? Thinking about how you're going to leverage your money. So for us, my husband and I knew that where we are right now, we wanted to be financially independent. So when we were starting to have all these 4 kids, when we were going through all the things that we were going through, we just weren't spending as much as we made. It was always our intent to be able to be financially independent, so I did not have to ask anybody else for anything else. Now, I get it. Everybody's in a different situation. I absolutely get it. But where you can cut, cut. When you can be real, be real. When you can live less, live less. We had 4 kids, and we had a mortgage, we had the dog, the cat, everything else. And the reality of it is, we weren't driving what everybody else was driving in the school. We weren't living where everyone else was living in the school. We weren't doing a whole lot. Oh, but right now, though. So it's that delayed gratification, and it matters with your dollars. We've got 4 millennial kids right now, and we are telling them they are on with our financial planner already. They are already in their 401ks. They are already starting to save money because they've seen it. I'm 54 years old, and we are financially independent to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. So I'm going to recommend seriously that you begin now. Seriously, if you can save $5, save it. If you can save $10, save it. That Lexus, let me stop talking about people's cars. But all that you know what I'm saying? I mean, we got to get real. I had to check myself because it hurt to see somebody else profiling and what they had and the stuff that they had in their homes, and your kids would go over their houses and we don't have so what, boo-boo? We have food. That's what we need right now. I mean, I don't know how much realer I can get. If your dream is worth it, then you've got to make the boss move to tighten up when you can. And you've got to be able to save as much so that you don't have to depend, because the money's not rolling out there. Let's just be completely honest. Bootstrapping is the way that business is still working today. And so you're going to have to do what you have to do in order to get where you need to go. I'm sorry. That's just
Yeah, one thing I'm just going to add to that, preach, by the way. There is always a problem to be solved out there. So, that's anytime if you're looking to start up a business, and what I did was essentially, I didn't really, when I was starting my business, I was still trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to hone in on as a niche. But in the meantime, I could do a bunch of things. So if it's event planning, if it's, handling somebody's social media account, if it's, putting somebody on TV, or if it's dog walking. Like, I pretty much did it, and people will pay to have a problem be solved for them. I mean, you could go on Facebook right now and, somebody's like, hey, I'm looking for somebody that can do this. Hey, I'm looking for somebody that can do that. Hey, can somebody drive me from here to here? I'll pay them $200 to do it. So this kind of what she said, it's getting creative.
Yes.
It's bootstrapping and wheeling and dealing too, because you know your worth, know that people will pay to have a problem solved.
That's it.
And in the meantime, while you're looking to get your business up and running, figure out what you can do to make money now. And then as you make money now, then you can start honing in on what is it that my business wants to focus on. And then more importantly, not just what you want to do as a business, but is there a big enough problem out there that the business solves? Do you have a big enough customer base out there? But it's good to go ahead and test that out while you're getting money in through other ways.
I've coached women in business for quite some years when I was working in corporate, and even coaching women outside of business. One of the number one things that tends to get in the way is something that you demonstrate, all of us do, but you've got this little extra to it, which is confidence. When you know who you are and you know what you bring to the table, then you can go to the table and get what it is that you're looking for.
That's good.
But when you've got all these things that are in your mind and you're worried, what if, and that, and you go and approach anybody about your business in that manner, you've already devalued what your worth is.
That's good.
So it's the key thing is to make sure that you know what it is that you want to do. Because if you can't go to the table and say prompt pay and have your shoulders back on it, if you're not confident about what it is that you know what you're doing and going after to get.
That's good.
So you've really got to do that soul searching like we're telling you in that inventory. Is this going to be the right business? Knowing all the realities around it, yes, so that when you do have those discussions, whether it's with a client you're trying to build or a new venture you're trying to embark on, you're going there with the confidence level that makes them believe, wow, you gotta go with you. Exactly. You know what you're talking about, right? I've seen so many people go in with that confidence, and the products and the services and the things they were offering were just awful. And I'm like, how did we get this? And they've sold it into corporate America, places where I've worked at. And I'm asking, how did we contract with these people? This is not good.
Wow.
Because they came in there with all this confidence, like, I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, no, you don't.
They're just good. They're good sellers.
They're good sellers, and along the way, somebody told them you can sell, and I'm saying no, that's not what I want to buy.
I mean,
So
I
it's
think
that
what's interesting,
confidence.
what you're saying though, true confidence is not generated out of some kind of superficial
No.
bravado. It's not that. You better have what it takes when it comes to being able to pay. Make sure that your confidence can pay what you're saying that it can pay. I mean, I think that's exactly what you're talking about. There's a lot of BS out there. I mean, there just is. I mean, I've been in broadcasting, and I'm head BS put outer, right? So I get it, and I've interviewed everybody, so I get that. But the reality of it is, those who really have the goods can make good on what they're saying, and those are the ones that are going to be successful in whatever they do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, too, I'll just add one last thing. I think that applies when you're just in a corporate setting, too. Like, when it's time for bonus time or time to ask for that raise, women in the past have just been, I'm sorry, I'm going to cuss. It scares the shit out of us, like, to ask for more money. And the thing that I've learned over the years is when and this is something that's not really taught, it's just something you kind of learn along the way, is when you go and you say, yeah, I should be making this much more money. It's not the company. The thing to think about is what value are you providing to the company? Because that's what they're looking at the end of the day. So if you're asking, if you're negotiating a raise, if you're negotiating a new salary, you walk in there like a boss with confidence and you say, this is how I've contributed to the bottom line, this is how I've impacted the company, and this is what the market for my role is right now. Do your research, look at what other people are making in your role, and say, yes, this is why I deserve this amount of money.
Here's a coaching question for everybody. I'm sorry, it's what I do. Okay? So we've told you to take inventory of what you have to offer and your value, your skills, and all those different things. I want you to consider, what is the mental trash that you are holding on to that's getting in the way of you showcasing your authentic you, who you were naturally designed to be and do. Now that can be in a corporate setting, whether you're going for that performance review and annual performance, all those different things, whether you're trying to position yourself outside, whatever it might be. What are the things, and I'm assuming that we have done kind of a reality check and said, I gotta let that go. I gotta get rid of that. What are those things? And one of my clients said this, mental trash. How do you let that go and start focusing on the things you really, really do need?
And time's up.
And time's up.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my God, is that my beeper? Y'all were fabulous. Were they fabulous? Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think that one.
It's not working?
Yeah, get that.
Thank you, ladies. I mean, y'all were amazing. Did we have the view in Peachtree Corners tonight? Did we not have the view? Was this real and authentic? Are you coming back next month, the second Thursday of every month? Okay. Okay. So, our next event is Stephanie. Stephanie, come here. So a few of these ladies talked about Stephanie. Stephanie, tell us about your FinTech event.
Hi. Stephanie Foster. I'm a product manager at Fiserv. So naturally, FinTech is my passion. I've been working in this industry for 19 years, and I'm very happy to host our Women in FinTech next month. We've got some big corporate names: FIS, Fiserv, Feature Space, TSYS, and I'm missing one. Who am I missing? First Data. So I can't talk about that. But I'm very excited to be your host next month. So I hope you all will come and support these amazing women in the industry and learn about how women, like all of us, are changing the game in FinTech.
And thank you. She is one of our newest founding members, and she is taking us by storm. And she brought this up, some of the fabulous panel here, along with Kayla. Do you love our millennial? Yes? Is she fabulous? No, great job. We hope that you all will still continue. And thank you again, LinkedIn, for sponsoring our event. And Eris, we love you, Eris. Bring all of your fabulous ladies. Men are welcome. We're not prejudiced. So thank you, gentlemen, for being brave enough to come here. And please bring your male friends. I do carry a taser, so they have to behave. That's the only rule. But thank you so much. Again, the next meeting that we're going to have is our general session, the Wireless Technology Forum, and that's at Atlanta Tech Village in Buckhead on the third Thursday of February. And then Caroline is starting a new special interest group, Mobile Marketing, and that is on March 28th. And we'll be here on March 14th. So please join us. Follow us on our social media handles. Join our groups. And Liz and I want to thank you for being here, my new co-chair. Liz?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming out. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll be back next month and again. Consider joining Women in Wireless with a $99 membership, and that gets you in here every single time, as well as venturing out to the Wireless Technology Forum events on the third Thursday of the month, and the mobile SIG. So you get a lot for the money.
3 organizations.
For $99.
For $99.
Yes, and thank you again.
Please.
Yes.